Hello, Christine.
Fresh empathy.
Oh, that almost rhymed a little bit. How are you doing on this
Ah,
fine and that's why we drink day slash
oh,
night?
thank you. Well, I it's April Fool's technically when we're recording this,
Oh my God, I
and
forgot.
I didn't think to fool you, but I did wake up and Blaze said it's snowing outside, and I was like, haha, and I thought he was fucking with me.
Yeah.
And then, sorry, I swore already in the first 2 minutes. And then I went to the window and looked out, and there was literally snow on the ground. I'm so angry. It was 75 degrees a few days ago,
Oh
and
my
I'm
gosh.
thrown for a loop. I'm cold again. I turned the heat back on. What's happening? I don't know. I'm not loving it. How are you?
Well, I woke up really early today
What?
and
Why? Is that oh, you're fooling me.
no, I'm saying, well, I guess in a way I'm fooling myself because my version of early is not anyone else's early, so no one would pity me. Basically, I am a walking fool whether or not someone tries to prank me today.
Yeah, you don't
But
need to. Okay, leave us alone. We already know we're fools. You don't need to make a point of it.
I did wake up at like 9:30, which it was tough for me
That's
because
early to me. Okay, you and I are
well,
on the same page about
we
that.
both know I function better in the middle of the night, so going to bed at 4 and then waking up at 9 doesn't feel great.
No.
And so I did wake up thinking, you must be fucking joking, like to the skies.
Oh
And
no. I
so
miss the
anyway,
times when we would record in person and bring Starbucks. Except
ugh.
part of me misses it, but part of me doesn't because it was really, oh, you have oh, well then get away from me. Okay, you
Actually, this
complainer.
is this is knockoff Starbucks. I'm just using the cup.
Oh, I was like, it
So
doesn't look like any Starbucks drink I've seen before, but no judgment.
but I do
Um,
miss those days. It was so much fun. It was like a little hangout with a picnic and
I know. And
snacks.
we didn't never actually recorded. We would sit there for 5 hours and then be like, well, I guess we can record tomorrow. Like it was just a nightmare for
We
poor
would just
Eva.
have fun. We would just
We
have
would just
fun.
have fun and then so much stress, but fun at the first half. So it's
Thank
okay.
God Eva's around. I mean, I don't know how exactly that fits in, but I do feel like at least someone else is holding us accountable.
I
And
agree. And I think
yeah.
having the doing this over Zoom means we have to actually set a time. Like we have to show
Yep.
up on the computer. So it's been actually kind of nice to have a schedule where we know we're going to be done at a certain time, which is good because today I'm getting my second COVID vaccine in a few hours.
I'm very
Um,
happy for you. I am still
you
sitting here 0 for 0 in these empty
juice free.
arms, these empty vessels of mine.
Those biceps haven't been juiced up. Well, Eva's have yesterday. She managed to get on there. So you better hurry it up, dude.
I know
Get on those lists.
now that both of you are at least ahead of me in the vaccine race, I'm feeling a little FOMO. But also we were just talking about this. I have an incredible fear, which I'm willing to get through, but I have an incredible fear that the vaccine is really gonna just wreck me. Like the second one, how people have been saying that the second
Mm-hmm.
one is really bad. I just have a feeling within me that I'm one of those
I tried
people.
to comfort Em and I was like, hey, you know, a lot of people don't get sick and like, you know, I think it'll be fine. At least you know it'll be gone in a few hours. And Em was not having it. They were like, it's not going to feel good. And so I'm not happy about it. And I was like,
Well, I
okay.
also feel like my time is due. I feel like I because the last time I even had a minimal cold was Florida, which was
Which we've
March.
named an entire state after your illness. So like that's how bad, that's how
Well,
traumatic it was for poor Emothy.
what's weird about Florida though? That was March 13th, 2019. And then March 13th, 2020 was the day the pandemic
Oh,
of
what are you
lockdown.
doing to us?
So this March 13th, I was really white knuckling it, hoping that something wasn't going to happen. Luckily,
I just
nothing
glanced
did.
at my calendar. Okay, good.
We've made it through. But um since I've literally have not been sick at all for 2 years, I am terrified that the world is going to be like, you've had your time in the sun, let's bring you
Okay,
down to
but the
earth.
thing with this is not it's not a real illness. Like you're having some reaction to the shot, but like it'll like it's not gonna like last for more than a day or two. Like it's gonna be gone, which is
I
the good
know,
part.
but it'll just be a taste. It'll just be a taste of whatever
Yeah,
karma's
yeah.
coming my way.
It won't feel
That's
good.
all.
I mean, I'll text you tomorrow because my when I got the first one, it kicked my butt and like that's not even supposed to really happen, but my immune system's so shot and screwed up that like it just freaks out. So it sucked. So I'm getting the second one and it's gonna probably be bad. So I'm
At least you're
sorry in
doing it
advance.
on a Friday, so
That's
like you
why I
don't.
scheduled it for it was supposed to be Tuesday of this week, which is the day before recording, and I was like, not happening. Not happening.
I'll tell you right now, whenever I get my shot, the next 2 days, I you don't know who I am. I am
Oh
it
yeah. Do not
off.
worry.
I'm away.
I
So
will be MIA as well, out of the office, as they say, and just in bed. So don't worry. But
well, I'm
yeah,
very happy for you. I'm very happy for you
thank
with
you. I
that.
mean, I'm just glad that things are rolling along here for a lot of people, and finally seeing some light at the end of the tunnel. Oh, and can I say one thing real quick that
Yeah.
I keep meaning to mention and I haven't yet? Is that so? Em and I recently did a gift opening video, well,
Mm,
a few, with Eva,
many.
many, and I recorded those over Zoom, and so I have to get those edited and put up. I haven't done that yet because
Oh,
life.
is that it? Is that the
No,
announcement?
there's one more thing I want to
Oh.
mention, but so just to let you know, they're not all of them are up yet, but we're working on it.
Oh yeah.
And I wanted to say thank you because so many people sent great gifts that Em and Eva opened on their end in Burbank, and then I was like really surprised because I had quite a few boxes here in Cincinnati, and I was like, oh my gosh, people sent them directly to me. Like I wondered what they are, and they were a lot of them were just so kind and like thoughtful. And the one that's like every single night gets me like sort of teared up, which usually is after some wine, but that's besides the point.
Is it the
Is
blanket?
blanket. It's on my little blanket ladder, and it just makes me emotional. So the ATWWD Stitchers group, which is I guess they crochet and knit and all that good stuff, and it's I think a Facebook group. And they so I opened this beautiful like lemon like handmade blanket. It was like all these lemon squares and like so cute. And I was like, wow, somebody made this. And then I read the note, and it was all these different people. Everybody sent one square in that they made for the blanket, and then somebody put them all together for me as like a, I don't know, like a
A
gift after.
mishmash.
Yeah, like a beautiful gift from everybody um after the whole miscarriage video. And so I was just so, I don't know. It was just so kind, and like I was so taken aback and had no idea this was going to happen. So just want to say thank you to everybody who was involved in that, who wrote a nice note, who took the time to mail like from Australia even like a square in to make this blanket, and I'm just very thankful. So
There's something different about it than just a normal random act of kindness. It feels like
yeah,
I think because it was such a global
a
collective
project. Yeah.
random act of kindness that so many people like rallied together for something you didn't even know was going on. But it really was so sweet. I remember seeing it being like, I don't know what the story to this is, but that's one of a kind.
It was like jaw dropping, and it's so beautiful. I mean, I was amazed, and I was like, wow, I have zero talent again. I'm reminded every day, but wow, it was. And then our pals on Patreon like gave us some
Oh,
really great gifts and donations. I mean, we're just really thankful, and we don't deserve you all. That's my message.
that if you weren't a part of it, of some lovely, lovely, lovely folks. I think it was 85 of them because I was counting, but
Yeah.
they put together a listeners
Oh,
episode,
so
but it
funny.
was instead of people sending in listener stories about ghosts and all that, the listeners wrote in stories about how and that's why we drink was important to them, and then the two Patreon folks who were running it, they filmed themselves and it looked like they were doing a
Like
podcast and
on
they were
Zoom.
impersonating
Yeah.
us, and they were doing like all of our like mannerisms, which
It
I
was
didn't even know I did
so
some of them, but I
cute.
realized it when they did it. And and then at the end, a la original old school listeners episodes, when we used to read all the Patreon names at the
Oh
end,
yeah.
they read all of the people who contributed in some way to the video, and it was so sweet. I just sat there in awe. I sat next to Eva, who was crying. Like
Oh.
it was it was an emotional experience. So thank you everyone. Those are just two highlights, but we got
Yeah,
so
we
many
got a lot of
things.
kind gifts and letters and cards. I mean, we're just thankful for you. And I feel like it's hard to kind of express that sometimes because we open them by ourselves and you don't see
Yeah.
it necessarily. So
I
thank
should
you.
also mention now, I in the one day of us opening gifts, I got 3 mentions on benches. So
Which apparently M asked for, we don't even remember.
which I'm cool with. I mean, one of them is hanging out right there. One of them is in the living room. I mean, like it's fine. But if you were planning, if you were like, oh, I really got to get a new mensch on the bench for M, I'm good. But thank you.
Em also ate the last of the caramel apple lollipops, and I said, you spoke too soon because we're doing a gift video. And lo and behold, more caramel apple lollipops. So
I now have 2 new, brand new bags of caramel apple pops I have
so
to eat.
funny.
It's one of those things I'm just never gonna get rid of in my life, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, you've cursed us in like the best way. I don't know. So,
but yes, thank you for mentioning that. Thank you so much to everyone who sent us
it
anything.
just was really cool and special.
If you would like to send anything in the future, you can send it to 1920 Hillhurst Ave, number 265, Los Angeles, California, 90027. Or Christine also has her own P.O. box.
I don't know it. It's on our website though.
Oh, okay. If you want to
It's on
send
our
anything
website.
specific to Christine.
But yeah, so I mean, we're not saying send us presents, but it was just really special, and thank
Send
you
us
for
presents.
well, M is but not caramel apple lollipops because we have enough for now. We'll tell you when we run out.
We're grateful. We're very grateful,
Very
and
grateful.
just taking the time to appreciate you.
Yes.
So thank you.
So that's all my updates, but
cool. Well, I got a story for you. I don't know, actually. I don't have too much of a story, but an info dump, if you will.
yes.
And it's just because the last episode that we did, just to jog your memory. Oh my God, are we supposed to talk about the fact that we just hung out with Terry Carnation?
I was gonna say, are you talking about how we literally met Rayne Wilson? Okay.
Yeah, we're just gonna skate right past that. Wait a minute.
We literally got to Zoom with Rayne Wilson.
We sure did.
I don't know how else to even like express that to you, but
and then as if the divine were here for us. Ironic, because they're also going to kick my ass with the vaccine, but they bestowed upon us a second chance, and we also Instagram lived with him. So we've now spoken to Rayne Wilson twice in our lives.
What is happening that we don't deserve any of this? So we're just so humbled this week.
Yeah, this is definitely the most exciting thing we've ever done, probably will ever do. And thank you, everyone. I'm speaking prophetically because I don't know yet, because we're recording this the day that episode comes out.
Right.
So I don't know how you'll react to it, but I'm just going to assume it's positive. And I'm going to say now, thank you so much for all the warm, kind words. And it means a lot to us.
Yeah. And if you saw like, oh, we have a guest episode and you're like, I'm going to skip it. It's really fun. It's really short. It's Terry Carnation, played by Rayne Wilson. So if you're like, I don't know who that is, it's worth checking out. He's so funny. And like one of our actual heroes, like, you know, the character is a character, but like, in reality also we were like fangirling out and fanthaying out. I don't know how you say that.
Fan peopling out.
Fan humaning out. I don't know. And so it was just really cool. So if you know, check it out. Let us know what you thought. We had a good time. We don't ever really have guests, as you know, so this was very special.
Yeah, all of a sudden we got the opportunity to an email just slips through like, do you want to talk to Rayne Wilson? And I was like, I sure do. I sure do.
I couldn't answer because I do that thing where I immediately close out everything, all the tabs in my head when something comes in like that. And so it took me like 6 hours, and I was like, I mean, yeah, I do. Does anyone need to actually ask me that? The answer is yes. But wow.
I was like, Eva, this is just an early April Fool's joke.
Yes, obviously. I thought so too.
So thank you to everyone for who tunes into that episode. It was very, very special to us. And then the final thing I have to update everyone on is by now the escape room is up.
Oh yeah.
And I had such a fucking miserable week. If you were to ask me why I drank this week, that was going to be my answer. Because I if you recall, back during our 200th episode, I surprised everyone with an escape room. A lot of people fucking hate me now because of that escape room, because
including
it was apparently pretty tricky. And
not everyone can FaceTime M during the escape room to ask for hints. And I recognize my privilege in that way. So,
and then because during that 200th episode, I also said I want to make this more of a thing for Patreon people, or some paraphrasing of that, where I want to make that a perk where if you are part of our Patreon, I said quarter, so every 3 months you'll get a new escape room from me. And so 3 months have come, and I have made another escape room. It is on Patreon. It is Harry Price themed, and I hope that you have fun with it. And because I also recognize Christine's privilege in being able to just ask me things, I
don't always get an answer, to be clear, but I can ask. So
I'll at least have my DMs open, but there'll be like an hour each day that I post about, where people can just like reach out to me and I can help you.
All right, catch me in there then, because I'm sure I'll need it.
I'll let you know, but thank you to everyone who is participating in that. Warby Parker is committed to providing exceptional vision care online and in stores, offering eyeglasses, sunglasses, eye exams, and contact lenses, and glasses start at $95, including prescription lenses. Sunglasses, progressives, and blue light lenses are also available.
So far I've gotten almost everything except the sunglasses, which is my next bet. I want some prescription sunglasses. I have my Jeffrey Dahmer glasses that I love, and
Yeah.
somebody else actually bought some recently and was like, Christine inspired me. So I'm just very pleased that Warby Parker is catching on. They send you a free try-on kit where you can try out the glasses for a few days, decide which ones look best on you, what other people think. You don't have to listen to them, but you can hear what they think. And then you can pick the glasses that you like the best. So try Warby Parker's free home try-on program. Order 5 pairs of glasses to try at home for free for 5 days. There is no obligation to buy. It ships free and includes a prepaid return shipping label.
Try 5 pairs of glasses at home for free at warbyparker.com/drink. Is there something interfering with your happiness or is preventing you from achieving your goals? Because I know with Christine and I, sometimes it feels like literally everything is preventing us from achieving our goals or interfering with our
Let me
happiness
count
in
the
some
ways.
way. Maybe it's because we're Geminis. Maybe it's because there's some legitimate things going on. But BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own licensed professional therapist, and you can start communicating in under 48 hours.
It's not a crisis line. It's not self-help. It's actual professional counseling done securely online. They have a broad range of expertise available, which may not even be locally available where you are in many areas. And it's more affordable than traditional offline counseling. They do have financial aid. So it's actually a really great system if you don't want to wait in a waiting room or, pay the usual amount for traditional therapy. We are big fans.
Visit betterhelp.com/drink. That's better HELP, and join the over 1 million people who have taken charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. In fact, so many people have been using BetterHelp that they're recruiting additional counselors in all 50 states.
This podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and That's Why We Drink listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/drink.
Moving on to our story/info dump. Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. I was like,
I
do
just
you
don't
not
want
want to hear it?
No, I don't. I know you already said, and I yelled yay, and I don't want to
Oh, okay.
pretend I'm surprised again since I already heard it.
Wouldn't have hurt my ego, but that's fine.
Yay! What an info dump! Holy crap! I've never
I
even
know.
believed such a thing could happen to me today.
I know. Okay, so to jog your memory from last week, we covered the abduction of Laura Clarke. It was a real shit show. She has been through a lot, and one of her memories, beyond just hanging out with the Greys, with the Greys for many, 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 many decades of her life. One of the characters that she happened to see during this was this massive, like 6-foot, completely black praying mantis.
Talk about that.
And she said that she could tell telepathically that it was like the leader of the group when she was on board, and she got the immediate, without even having looked at him yet, full body experience of complete dread.
Why did you make me yell, "Oh, I'm so excited," before you told me this?
I'm sorry.
You're not, but okay.
So I was like, well, I want to dig more into that. And so I want to see like what is it about a praying mantis that felt evil or something. So I ended up looking up mantis aliens, which is a thing apparently. So
I don't appreciate it.
Well, buckle up.
Great.
We are going to go straight in to surprisingly very little information I could find on mantis aliens, but most of this episode is just going to be quick stories of people who have experienced these beings. So the first thing I'm going to say, this is according to a researcher named Dr. Boylan. And Dr. Boylan, when describing these creatures, said that they have long, narrow faces and long, narrow eyes, and the eyes slant up and down, very much like an insect. What makes them look even more like praying mantises, this is a quote from Dr. Boylan. They have extremely thin, long torsos, long, extremely thin arms, which are usually crooked at the sharp bend at the mid-joint, and with the hand and fingers sloping almost vertically downward from the wrist. So imagine that these little fellas, these puppies, are arms, like forearms.
Stop it.
I
don't like this.
And legs also bent at an almost right angle at the mid-joint, creating a crouched pose. The overall effect is the characteristic praying mantis look. It should be noted that the experiencers feel that this type is no insect, but rather an intelligent, sometimes gentle-spirited, and jerky-moving human lifelike form. They are both males and females. What about non-binaries, Dr. Boylan?
Nope. Apparently not.
And they are usually described as standing at 6 to 7 feet tall. So that was a full quote from Dr. Boylan. But just to give you a quicker definition, they are often dark brown or green. Sometimes they're black. They have a segmented exoskeleton. A lot of reports from people who have been abducted, they've said that they see some sort of weird oily substance coated all over them. So they look really shiny, but other people have described it as metallic looking. So they think that their skin might be just like kind of like a exoskeleton. I'm thinking like a beetle, how like they're
Yes.
because also a lot of people have said that their experiences with praying mantis aliens, they also were hanging out with an alien that felt very beetle-like. So
okay.
yeah.
Weird.
And a lot of times these creatures are in robes. Sometimes they are nude. But I think
Scandalous.
I think the robes are maybe an indicator of like a higher
I'm not gonna lie,
rank.
it is slightly comical. Don't be mad at me, mantises, but it is comical to picture a large bug in a robe. That makes me feel a little better.
It's more comical to see a large bug in a robe and then another large bug without a robe
Naked.
because it implies that they need to be clothed.
Yeah, you're right. Or that it means something to cover up.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's true.
So
weird.
Really, if you're thinking of a praying mantis, you're probably spot on in the characteristic. It just looks,
picture it. Hate
it just looks like a humanoid praying mantis. And this alien is not only called a mantis alien, sometimes it's called a mantidian or a mantis man.
Okay.
The mantis men are after me.
Ooh.
So there are several theories as to where they even come from. Most people, I mean, I would just run with the group that says that they're aliens. Okay. But another theory is that their insect-like nature actually implies that they're from Earth originally because they look so much like a creature that's already here.
Right.
I like to think of it in the reverse of like maybe praying mantises are just little versions of them from space.
Oh my God. That's a really good point.
Now in my head, I'm thinking maybe praying mantis bugs on Earth are just tiny little like first years and like they're doing their training. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, how interesting.
The bigger they get or the longer they're here, the more evolved they become.
Okay, well now you're extra freaking me out. Okay.
By the way, if anyone's listening to this and you spot a praying mantis, cover its ears because I am giving away its secrets. Also, some people do think that because insects have been around forever, if they were alien in any way, or like that little theory I just had of like maybe they are super intelligent or something, since insects have been here forever, they have had a lot of time to evolve, and that's why some of them have reached this ascension of this high intelligence, and they don't even live on our planet anymore.
Praying mantis in a robe, run away. It's evolved to an evil state.
If you see a praying mantis, take a picture of it and Photoshop a robe on it, and then show it to him and put it on his vision board, and that's
he can manifest.
A mantis manifesting.
Yeah, I love that. A mantis man who's manifesting his robe.
Mantis man manifesting.
That's kind of sweet.
A lot of people do like to back up their argument with the fact that the oldest insect fossil is around 400 million years old, a cool 400 million.
Yikes.
So that would give bugs, if they've been around for 400 million years, you think what have humans done the time that they've been here? But if bugs have had 400 million years to evolve, then there's no reason to assume that they haven't achieved greater heights than we're aware of.
That's heinous, but thank you.
It's pretty terrifying. A lot of people think that includes advanced technology, and so they're actually, maybe they're not in the sky, maybe they are living amongst us, but they have this technology we're not aware of that keeps them invisible, and so there's just giant praying mantises all around or some shit like that. Feels very QAnon-y, but
yeah, a little bit.
There's also I think a group of people, it seems like it's a catch-all for like indigenous people in South Africa. They're called Khoisans, Khoisans, Khoisan. Khoisans?
No idea.
Okay, well, one thing that's really cool about their group is that they say that the praying mantis was the first creature on the planet.
Interesting. I've never even heard that. That's
essentially, it feels like, it sounds very godlike in that it gave us animals, it gave us fire, it gave us all the things we need to sustain ourselves.
The mantis did.
Yeah, a
Oh, wow.
praying mantis. And apparently, I thought this was funny too. The praying mantis created the moon by throwing a gallbladder into the sky.
Oh, was this gallbladder retrieved in a
I don't. I
positive
think
way or in an
that's a great
aggressively
question. I
evil
don't
way?
know. I don't know where the gallbladder came from, but I'm hoping he just kind of like did his mantis magic and kind of just summoned it or something. It's
Yeah,
just
he
like
didn't just like find someone sleeping and like cut out their gallbladder and throw it into
of
space.
of all things though, like why a gallbladder if you're gonna pull anything and make it the
I wonder if
moon?
it looks like a moon. Like there must be
Hmm.
some connection that they would say gallbladder. I'm
I don't
Googling
know.
gallbladder. This is a big mistake. This is a big mistake.
Good luck to you.
Oh, it's only diagrams.
Does it look
Um,
like a moon?
Short answer, no.
Okay.
So
Well, it's changed over time, much like the mantis event, I guess.
yeah,
Um,
maybe it's evolved into a planet or not a planet, fucking rock.
a big
Okay, you know what?
fucking rock.
Forget it.
It's just it's like Lemon. He's just like a really petrified gallbladder.
It's just really come far in its existence.
Also, he
I
glows bright white for light years.
also I don't recommend if you're not like in medicine or not used to this kind of thing, don't Google gallbladder photo because instead of just a normal photo, they just show you like bad ones that you don't want to see.
I can't remember what it was. I just had to look something up that was really, really awful for my internet algorithm.
Ugh.
I forget what it was. It was something where I was embarrassed. I was
Was
like, if
it
any,
QAnon?
well, that was something else I was embarrassed about being on my computer. I don't remember what it was. I'll have to think about it and let you know. But I remember thinking, like, this is really bad. That sounds really awful.
Uh-oh. Well, I guess then I don't have anything to complain about.
It was one of those things where like it actually wasn't bad, but completely out of
Out of
context, it looked
context.
horrid. Yeah, so people think, or some people think that the praying mantis was actually the first ever creature, which I think is part of the argument of like some people say that the praying mantis was even potentially, you know, God or the first creation on Earth. There's proof of insects from 400 million years ago, and actually there are even petroglyphs that may be up to 40,000 years old of praying mantises. And
Wow.
even creepier is that, because that wasn't creepy, but I'll tell you how to make it creepy. Apparently, that those drawings that could be up to 40,000 years old had weird little circles drawn all over their limbs. And I think researchers are saying that it implies that they were humanoid versions. It's a total like theory, like there's no proof of this, but the circles on the limbs imply that there was more of a roundness to them on their extremities, so like feet and hands and things like that.
Ew.
And so it just, for the people who think that a praying mantis maybe like have been walking this earth or over 400 million years has highly evolved itself, and there's proof of potential humanoid praying manti from all the way then. It goes with the theory of like there are praying mantis aliens, and even, you know, people 40,000 years ago were running into them.
That's
So
definitely scientifically exactly what I was thinking.
right, well, apparently the carvings that they've been talking about, or the drawings they've been talking about, these petrographs, am I saying it right?
Petroglyph?
Petroglyphs, yeah, I know I was saying that wrong. They apparently suggest that this creature, which by the way is a bug, it was in a stance where it looked a lot like the quote squatting man motif, which has been seen in a whole bunch of carvings all over.
Oh, interesting.
The lawnmower man decided that my window was where he
I
needed to
don't
be.
love every time I tell you this every time, but like we'll be recording and I can't hear it from my end. So all of a sudden M will like freeze and look behind them like really quickly. And I feel like someone's about to murder you in front of me. It's
I
startling.
heard what I thought was a chainsaw behind me, so I was a little terrified.
Okay, this time fine. I'll give it to you.
But anyway, so yeah, the petroglyph looks like this weird stance that a bunch of other drawings from all over the world from thousands of years ago have been seen as drawing, but
Wow.
this one's a bug.
I wonder
So
too if like, you know how sometimes they would give I mean, I don't know this for a fact, but I feel like I've seen where they would give human characteristics to creations or beings that
like
they looked up to or like thought of as a higher status. Like not necessarily it looked that way, but maybe they were applying human characteristics to like an animal or to an insect or something like that. Like maybe it was just representative of like symbolic how
yeah,
they perceived this praying mantis as like godlike. I don't know.
I'm
Listen, I
gonna
went
make
to one exhibit at the Cincinnati Museum Center about the Mayans, and now I'm like suddenly think I'm some sort of expert. So just probably ignore me.
Yes, that's exactly what a lot of the researchers were talking
Oh,
about,
phew, okay.
which is
Whew.
like
Yes,
anthropomorphizing.
thank you. Sorry, that was a dumb way of saying literally the word
Well, the
anthropomorphize.
only way I ever think of anthropomorphizing now is because when I learned about it in social psychology, the example they gave us was how, like, if you look at the front of a car, you can see a face with like the two lights and the bumper and all that. And so now every time I think of anthropomorphizing anything, I just think of like little
Herbie
cars
fully
with the
loaded.
like with the little eyelashes on the headlights and stuff.
I hate that. It freaks me out so much.
But anyway, you are completely right that people are saying maybe they were just anthropomorphizing things that they had seen near them, but other
This is
people
what
are
happens
like,
when you go to museums, kids.
oh, the one time.
The one
Got
time.
it. Also, so this is where it gets a little wilder. A lot of people say that since bugs have been around since before the dinosaurs, they have had, like how I was saying earlier with the evolution, they have had a lot of time to really perfect their advanced technology, and they've also had time to perfect their own awareness of themselves, and therefore their technology and themselves are heightened in a way that we can never match unless we're also around for 400 million
Which,
years.
like, the rate we're going, we won't be. But
no, but
and I feel like I keep saying ew because it's like my instant reaction, but I recognize how like stupidly ignorant that is, because if any other creature or alien being were to think of humans evolving to what we've become, they'd be like, ew, big ew, big fat ew.
I am a human and I'm like, ew.
Exactly. So I get it, but also I think it's just an innate reaction of like, I think humans and bugs evolutionarily don't necessarily get along super well. I don't know.
also just don't like bugs, so I don't like the idea of being abducted by aliens. So combine the
combo,
two,
not good.
The two to me is something I don't really like. I just don't want to come in contact with it.
I like how you say I don't like bugs, and I say evolutionarily speaking, humans and insects. So like, I don't know why I can't
You are a woman in STEM and you know what you're talking about, and I just don't like bugs.
Oh my god.
Did I ever tell you about the time that when my ex, she was a bio major in college, and so one of her classes was like all she had to do was catch bugs all year. And she literally, for a year, my girlfriend would have to walk around with her in her sticking out of her backpack. Like the day one of that class, they all got butterfly nets. And
oh my god.
And the professor was like, you have to have this with you everywhere you go because you never know when you're going to find a really cool bug. And so for a year, I would walk around all the time with her carrying a butterfly net, and you never knew what you were going to find. And then their final project was like showing all the bugs that they had collected. It was awful.
That's sad. You're killing all those poor bugs.
No comment. I didn't like it to begin with. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, on many levels.
Because so many people think, I think it's not the craziest argument to think if things have been around for 400 million years, they've had a lot of time to grow. That makes sense to me. But then it starts morphing into some stuff I don't totally agree with, where it turns basically into the aliens either creating or coexisting with the reptilians. And for those of you who don't know, there's a lot of people out there who think that like lizards live under the ground. They're like humanoid lizards who are in charge of the earth.
Named Hillary Clinton.
Named Hillary Clinton. Yeah, I have no doubt that there's some QAnon people who believe in like praying mantis aliens living amongst us. Not to say the people who are not in QAnon also think that, but it really starts to very quickly get into, oh, well, if they are bugs with higher intelligence, then they've also created other creatures to be their minions and do their bidding and take care of us.
Conspiracy theory, like almost fear-mongering type of
immediately. And their advanced technology apparently includes them being able to now shapeshift and go invisible at will. So now for all you know, they're around listening to you all the time. And if you're lucky and you catch them in the middle of them not camouflaging, those are the stories people have witnessed of praying mantis aliens.
You have to catch an enlightened one, because then you'll just see a robe floating around and you're like, what is that? And you'll realize, why does that
cloak?
Yeah, you'll be like, why does that robe have 6 arms? Oh no.
Oh my goodness.
Why are your praying mantis has? Probably not 6, but
why are your thighs going back backwards in the
Oh
road.
God,
What's
yeah, you're
happening?"
bending the wrong way. Oh my God.
So
Ooh.
in many abduction stories, people have said that these mantis aliens appear to be at the top of their hierarchy and they're supervising others. A lot of people have said they've never seen them outside of the ship, and so they're not usually the one that does the direct kidnapping or abducting of people. They just happen to be on the ship all the
That's
time.
probably for the best. Like maybe let's leave those guys out of sight, out of mind for a little
yeah.
while. Yeah.
It also, I wonder what the conspiracy theories follow of like, oh well, you never, the only time you can see them is when they're on the ship, because when they're not on the ship they've been following you invisible or something. Like
Yeah.
I wonder how wild it gets, but people have only ever been able to see them for the most part, at least when they're being abducted, they've only been able to see them on the ship. Also, there's a lot of reports of them being able to give off a calm energy if they want to, that they seem like they want to protect Earth, and they have the power to like calm down abductees telepathically. I don't know who Laura met up with,
I
but
was
that
gonna
was like
say, well,
the rogue Dark Lord praying mantis.
yeah, it sounds very Star Wars.
And many contactees have also said that they were shown holographic pictures of Earth being destroyed, but it wasn't because that was like their mission. It was the praying mantises showing them how reckless we are and what's to come if they don't interfere.
Yeah, I mean, that part I can get on board with.
Yeah. Some people have also said that some contactees have had experiences with having higher psychic abilities after their time with a praying mantis.
Interesting.
So, because a lot of people think that these praying mantis aliens have the power of telepathy, maybe because you're near them, or maybe they gift you this, or however it goes, people end up having this clairvoyance about them for the rest of their lives after an experience with a praying mantis alien.
Cool.
There was one study called the Commonality Study by Martin and Stones, Kathleen Martin and Denise Stoner. Oh, not Martin Stones, then it would be Martin Stoner. Commonality Study. I think I just said that wrong. So Kathleen Martin and Denise Stoner are both people who've been abducted, and they wrote a book called The Alien Abduction Files. And they came out with a study about 50 different abductees that they interviewed or surveyed in some way, and they found that, quote, 72% stated that they are more sensitive or intuitive than they were prior to contact, and 79% stated that they had developed new psychic abilities after a contact experience.
Ooh, okay.
So that all sounds fun, but there's also people like Laura who felt dread and danger, and it says that the praying mantises want to like take over the planet, or completely evil, or however she said it. Some people have also agreed with her and also said like we need to be prepared because the praying mantis aliens already have a hybrid program on Earth where they are taking humans to create a new species with them.
Quick
So,
quick cue.
Yeah.
How does one prepare, I guess is the question. We need to be prepared. Sure, I'm on board. I'll be prepared. What the hell are you talking about? Be prepared.
Quick A. Because I don't know.
So not a quick A. Got it.
So a very boring one. When people are like, "Oh, be prepared," because they're breeding us with their own kind. It's like, what do you expect me to fucking do?
Be
about
prepared.
that?
Like, yeah, but like that's just
like, okay.
what?
How?
Do
Just
what?
sit here and with my little tin hat and hope that no one comes
I'm
by.
telling you.
Anyway, that's all the information I could find. But here are some stories about them.
Ooh.
So the first one is from 2002, or it's from the early 2000s. It's actually in 2004, but as of 2002, this space in New Jersey had several sightings and reports of a creature that now is a local cryptid there. And it's called the Mantis Man or Mantis Men. And so now that's like a local lore. And I don't even know if they consider it an alien or if it's like their Bigfoot or something. But anyway, there's an area in New Jersey that has Mantis Men. And one report was in 2004 that basically there was this guy fishing with his boss, and he was chest high in the water, and from the corner of his eye he saw a 7-foot humanoid moving around them. And by humanoid massive praying mantis. And
Wow.
7 feet tall, and you're in the water chest high. Like that feels like when you're trying to run out of a dream and you
So vulnerable. Yes.
yeah.
You're like frozen in jello. Wait, so what was it in the water? Do we know, or was it just kind of floating?
So he was in the water fishing, and from the corner of his eye he saw it moving also in the water.
Ugh.
He originally was calling it a grasshopper, which I guess is pretty similar
Yeah,
to
I think they get confused sometimes.
yeah. They're just like the plebeian version of
Yeah, they wish.
praying mantis aliens. If
Nice
only
try.
they could never. So he kept calling it a grasshopper at first, but he said that he first noticed this creature's thigh. So I guess he wasn't too deep in the water, but noticed that it was bending the wrong way. And then their eyes locked as if both of these creatures could see each other. And the way that he explains it is that he thinks the creature thought he was camouflaged and he was shocked something could see him.
Ew, no, don't say that to me.
So here's a quote. I get the sense that he can't believe that I'm in the water, that I can't believe that I've seen him, that I'm not perturbed at all, something of all three. I don't know, just astonishment.
Oh my god. I hate this I just hate this very much. That's all.
Look, I also hate it. I also hate it because that if he's right where he thought that the thing thought it was camouflage, that means next time you're chest high in water, there could be one just like hanging out.
I will never be chest high in water ever again.
Again.
That's my new mission in life. So thank
you.
He
said, well, he ended up saying that it did look like a praying mantis. And then he said, quote, and no, I would not say it was a big bug. It was definitely humanoid, despite the mantis/insect qualities. I sensed the strong impression that the mantis man was cloaked, and I caught it just right. It abruptly found itself against a new background and was adjusting quickly. And I can tell you that its arms were normal and not the literal mantis forelegs that I have seen in drawings.
Wow.
So that's a mod podge of
it's interesting that he like got the sense of like, he was trying to be camouflaged because like if they're telepathic, he like, fully understood what was happening, which I don't think you would without that.
Do you think he just heard like whatever the praying mantis language is for oh shit, like, oh shit.
No, I thought I was wearing this cloak. God damn.
So, like I said, the mantis man has now actually become a local cryptid in New Jersey, even though it has very minimal sightings, like I think fucking 3 or something.
But how traumatizing if you were that fisherman and you're walking around and like now they sell like stuffed animals of it and you're like, I don't want to see this guy everywhere.
Like just I all I had was his thigh and I don't want any more of that, you know?
Camouflage him, please.
Apparently the mantis man in New Jersey is known to be a 7-foot tall bug-like creature seen by people in or near the river, and it's been featured on Monsters and Mysteries in America. Fun fact.
Oh.
The last person to witness it was someone named Mr. Strickler. I don't know if that's like a code name or something.
Principal. It sounds like a principal.
Yeah, Mr. Strickler reminds me of Mr. Strickland, which was the principal in Back to the Future. So
that might be my, I don't know, subconscious. Maybe you're telepathic now and I'm just gathering all this evidence. No clue how I knew that.
Hang on a second. So Mr. Strickler says, quote, I noticed something to my left. This is the most recent person who saw the mantis man. I think it was 2011, but I wrote the information. I didn't write it down. I noticed to my left something standing in the river just off the south bank. I slowed the car down and I looked closer. It wasn't a person and it was transparent like with a weird shape. That freaks me out that it's transparent because that means it's invisible or has the ability to be. It moved slowly towards the bank and into the trees. I drove further so I could see it coming out of the trees, and that's the last I saw of it. It was tall, 8 feet or so, and had long, thin arms hanging off of it. The color was a pale brown, but I could see right through it. Thanks.
No.
So I don't know if all of these are now stories from this book, but I would say most of them. I would say half of them are. I've got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stories, and they're all super short. At least 3 of them are from a book that I actually read many pages in, and I'm very proud of myself. It was called Real Aliens, Space Beings, and Creatures from Other Worlds. It's by Brad and Sherry Steiger. And look, if you're into the praying mantis aliens, that book had at least a whole chapter on praying mantis stories. So go check that out. And so a lot of these will have been from that book. Others are from different articles I read, but in case you're wondering where some of these came from. So one of the stories is a guy from Paul in the UK. This was literally 2 months ago. He was 26, and at 5 a.m. he was riding his bike home from his night shift, and he saw something orange and bright in the sky and thought maybe it was like just a really bright star or something, and it was a lot closer than it normally is. So he stopped to take a picture, and right when he was about to take the picture, the object started rotating around and moving by itself,
Mm-mm.
and he got this gut feeling that he needed to leave.
Oh no.
And when he tried to leave, it began to follow him.
So, because this is what my dumbass would do. I would be like, let me get a photo to send to M, and then like
Right.
immediately it would follow me. Like, I'm screwed if I come across this thing.
Well, naturally, he had to get home through a forest, which means he was
Ugh.
now by himself being followed by a glowing orange star.
Ugh.
And he said that the woods felt eerily creepy. And then
M's boring themselves with their own book reading over here.
I felt it coming for a long time. Sorry. And then, quote, standing a few meters ahead of me is what I can only describe as a humanoid praying mantis. This thing was at least 7 feet tall, light green with a triangular head and big oval black eyes. It had all the features of a mantis, but stood on 2 legs and had somehow human-like shapes about it. I was completely frozen with fear. And then Paul says that they locked eyes, just like how that fisherman did in New Jersey. Paul says that they locked eyes and they were staring apparently right into each other and they could read each other's minds.
Oh no.
Here's what Paul experienced with that. My fear was replaced with completely alien thoughts of utter hatred and evil that I felt
Holy
projected from this thing. So this one feels like someone Laura might have ran into.
Yeah, it sounds like the same guy.
I suddenly snapped out of this hypnotic state, and it made me step back as if it was going to pounce on me. So apparently he ran into a not so great praying mantis.
It's also like bad sign that usually they want to be invisible, and this time they're like, "Oh no, I'm coming to show you."
Yeah, well, since you've seen me anyway, since I'm outed, here I am. Another quick one is in 2011.
Wait, did he get away or what happened?
That was it. That's all I could read.
No,
I'm assuming he made it out to be able to tell us that story.
Yeah, fair.
So in 2011 in Connecticut, there was a woman who was driving at midnight and saw a 2-foot praying mantis, which is not 6 foot, but it's still not 2 inches.
How cute.
It's like a teenage one.
Yikes.
Also maybe they don't grow, but they shrink. I'm thinking of if there's a 2-foot praying mantis out there versus the 7-foot, does that mean it's a child one or does that mean it's actually like an older, wiser one? Because remember in the Laura Clarke episode, she saw a creature in a robe and it was so small, it was smaller than her toddler. And
that's right.
And telepathically he was like, yes, but we are very old, which makes me think, do they Benjamin Button? They get smaller as they grow wiser.
Somebody
or they
made a mistake
higher?
when they were evolving this creature and were like, oh, we should have gone the other way. It's more intimidating.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Or maybe in their world it's like elephant syndrome or something, where like how an elephant is terrified of mice because they're so tiny.
Oh.
Maybe the smaller of a praying mantis you are, the more powerful you are, which makes me go back to my theory of like our actual on Earth praying mantises are so tiny. Maybe they are like God himself. Like they are just they are supreme beings.
They keep one in the Cincinnati Zoo insect enclosure, and that thing is gonna.
That's what they want you to think, Christine.
Burn down
Hang
Cincinnati when it gets out of that cage. We are done for.
Okay, so this woman saw a 2-foot one running by the road in the middle of the night in 2011. Apparently, the creature was mahogany brown. It never took its eyes off of her the entire time, so they both locked eyes again, and it found a storm drain and jumped down, which feels like a very CGI'd experience, like some sort of weird bug movie.
It feels like a 2005 CGI film. Yeah.
I'm just like do and then just jumping into the storm drain.
Oh,
so
gross.
That was someone's experience. Another one sounds really intense. This one is one of the ones from the books. It's gonna fuck you up, this quote, but I'm going to tell you at the end of it, it's actually, there's a weird, nice twist.
Okay. All right. Okay. Just do it.
Okay. So here's the quote. It's a long one. I didn't even want to try to paraphrase this one. It was just
no. You might as well read it as is.
Basically the context in this story was that the person who's telling the story, their friend had recently gone through an accident that was really bad, and they had had traumatic head injuries.
Oh
And so they
God.
were in the hospital, and people were just even afraid to touch this girl because she had like part of her skull removed or
Oh
something. It was really
God.
terrible.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden these creatures come in, these
They're like,
praying,
now's our time to shine. I mean, what
they
on earth?
they just fucking waltzed in. So here's the quote. I stood there helpless for the longest time, not knowing what to do, but feeling a sense of panic. Something had to be done quickly. All of a sudden, there were two beings that appeared next to my friend. They seemed to push right aside me and silently went to work on her like skilled surgeons. They stood to her left, standing together and working furiously on my friend. I had no idea who they were, what they were doing, but the first thing I thought of was, are these aliens?
Okay, I love it. Like, just to clarify, I didn't know these guys. Like, oh
It's
well,
like
yeah, I would hope not. Otherwise, you have some
It's like,
explaining to do.
I don't hang with them. I don't know. I
I
don't know what's happening
promise.
here. I stood there and watched, and I thought they look like praying mantises, alien praying mantises. Then I focused on my friend and saw that, I'm sorry, her head was split wide open.
Goodbye.
Like
I'm
these
gonna expire.
like these aliens sliced it perfectly open.
I'm
I
leaving the
saw
earth. Goodbye.
I saw freshly sliced raw flesh,
Stop it.
and these aliens slash praying mantises were busily removing pieces of bone, rock, or whatever was from her brain. This did not look anything like what I would have imagined inside a brain to look like, but it was such a clean cut. These two alien praying mantises worked quickly without speaking a word, and I seemed to black out and I don't remember any more of it. So that's obviously really traumatic.
Oh, really?
Blech.
I actually had a great time. Thanks for sharing.
The writer at the end seemed to imply throughout afterwards that she really actually felt peace, that they had actually come in to try and save this person.
Did they save her?
So I think I'm the complete answer to that is apparently the friend ended up passing later, but there's a sense of that, like they prolonged her life or something, or helped get rid of whatever was going on. She felt like she was very at peace, and that what was happening was, maybe it was just them telepathically like kind of shushing her down while they were doing something really horrific, but the sense of calm was going
Right.
on, that they were there to, you know, oh, I'm too terrified to even touch my friend because, you know, she's so fragile right now. And then all of a sudden these two creatures came in and did
We'll
something.
touch her with our many legs.
It's like,
I
we'll
wonder.
fucking fix it.
Let me poke around in this brain. I wonder if she was part alien, like if they were part of their group and they were trying to save her.
That's what I'm thinking too. It felt very much like, why would they show up for this one person
us.
unless they had a connection, or like
Yeah.
maybe it was like, you know, someone like a Laura Clarke who they've been
Right.
following forever, and they needed to take at least vitals or some shit like that. So
Damn, that's scary though. Can you imagine if you woke up and there were just like these creatures? Oh my
also,
god.
can you imagine the like talking about like praying mantis advanced technology, like they literally sliced her face in half, and then
With
like you
what, right? Like with their freaking little paws? I don't know what they're called, but
it's
these
their
things?
paws, and then you can't, and then you come to, and all of a sudden your friend's face isn't like mutilated. Like, what did they do to like completely?
Also, why are there so many rocks inside her head?
Also, well, maybe they were implants or something. Maybe they like
Ah.
they were from, if she had a relationship with them, maybe there was a previous thing. I don't know. I have no idea what it is. It could have also been like a very human reason, that there was, maybe it was part of like the injury that she sustained.
Yeah, true.
But you know, if you're talking about it from a supernatural thing, like were they going in to like take out her implant or something, or were they trying to save her, or were they trying to, I don't know, I have no idea.
Freaky. Oh yeah, maybe they were like, shit, we can't be discovered, and they took out
Yeah,
her. Like, yeah, that's a good point too. I hadn't thought of that.
I have no idea. So anyway, that's one story, and after that I did that was really interesting to me, and apparently there are a lot of theories about praying mantis aliens, especially because they at least sometimes give off that overwhelming calmness, that they're healers. And then I also saw a few stories where people were saying that like praying mantises in general, like the actual bug, are known to be healing or really rare or good for your health or something. So it's interesting that they both kind of have that correlation. So if the little if the little guys down here are healers in a way, and then the highly advanced ones that are cutting your face open are also healers. Just saying, it just gives you more proof that maybe they have alien connections to each other.
Yeah.
So another one is in 2001. There was one guy named Jim from London. This one's also from the book, where he, at one night he woke up and saw two of these creatures standing over him while he was sleeping. They were making clicking sounds to each other. One of them looked more like a beetle, and he was wearing a robe, and he was crouching by the bed.
Ah.
And the other one was a more classic praying mantis, nude. And
Ooh la la.
basically he said that the praying mantis was at least 7 feet tall because it had to crouch in because of the ceiling. So he knew that this thing had to be big to be
Oh.
crouching in his room, which
I love that
yikes.
logic happening in your head. Like, well, my ceilings are notoriously 7 feet tall or
Uh-huh.
whatever.
Or this guy has horrific posture.
Yeah, it's valid. I mean, as someone who also has that.
People must see me walking around and be like, oh my God, do you think the ceiling's about to hit you or something?
Oh my God, Em, are you 4 feet tall? Wait, I don't know how. I think my logic is backwards. Never mind.
So apparently they say that this guy Jim said that it also had a pointy head and thin forearms, and the beetle one specifically looked very emotionless, yikes, with a domed head, maybe some sort of metallic armor, or it could have been its own skin that was really shiny. And the praying mantis leaned over Jim's bed and was holding what looked like a very long needle.
I don't.
That had a green light coming from it. So Jim's like, it could have just been a laser.
Which one's worse? Well, the needle. The needle's worse in my opinion.
Whichever one it was, that light, either on purpose or accidentally, ended up glowing into his eye.
Oh no.
And Jim said it was really painful because a laser hit him in the eye. And I'm just imagining like this alien kind of like fumbling around with a laser
drops it.
he found in your room, and it got in your eye, and you're like, ah. So, but I don't know, it could have been on purpose and like one of their tools or something, and it could have been a really invasive experience. Jim did say later that he felt something else. This feels more on purpose. He felt something stick into his skull, whatever that means.
Okay.
Whatever that means, I fucking hate it. And I'm so sorry.
My skin just felt like it was going to fall off my body. I'm so not here for that. I'd rather just vacate the earth.
Jim, if you're listening, I'm so sorry about your eye and your skull. That's all just fucking awful. I wonder if it was the same thing, like the laser goes into your eye and then it protrudes into your skull.
And inside your head, yeah.
Ugh. And by the way, as I was reading this, a lot of things are happening to faces, which is interesting because when I think of alien abductions, I think of like a full body medical procedure. I don't think of it as staying like neck up.
That's interesting.
That one person who was in the hospital and had their face literally sliced open, this guy had something with his eye and his skull. And then there's another one in 1977. This person's anonymous, and they were 8 at the time. And they apparently got beamed up. They saw a bunch of grays, and they met a praying mantis who apparently was trying to calm them down and like be very kind and make and while it was taking her eye out.
Okay. Oh my God.
So
leave my husk behind.
So that is also from the book that I mentioned, just so you guys know.
The worst book ever. Stop telling people to read this book.
It's my Stroll Peter, apparently.
Your cautionary tales.
But so 8 years old, gets beamed up, is hanging out with a bunch of gray aliens, apparently. And then they met this praying mantis who they said was very kind, proceeded to take her fucking eye out.
Very kind.
And then,
oh my God.
And then apparently it put the eye back in her head before bringing her back.
I wonder if that's where the rocks are behind her head.
That's what I was thinking. I'm like, that's 3 stories of someone's face getting fucked with in some way. And 2 of them were something getting put either behind or through your eye. And then and the 3rd story was them opening up her head to take something out where her brain is. So, I mean, it feels like that's where the implant is because they know you'll never get it out. They probably
There's something in there. Yeah.
They probably learned like, oh, well, humans can't get rid of their brains, so let's put the implant there because that's where it'll be the most
safe. And how often do you get like a x-ray of your brain, like an MRI, unless you have a head injury, which maybe is why they were like, we got to get that out before they do another x-ray or MRI.
I don't know. But so one thing that I also thought was super interesting about this story, is that they got beamed up and were hanging out with a bunch of Greys. They also apparently visited like an alien sports arena or something and saw a game where
What?
the Greys were
Like the
pushing
literal Space Jam.
literal Space Jam. They were pushing fireballs back and forth telepathically, like playing catch or something, or kickball or dodgeball or something with fireballs and using their minds instead of their arms. And if you got hit by one of the fireballs, you literally burned to death.
Oh my god.
And this is a quote from that story. I felt the telepathic cheer in my mind as if someone scored a touchdown in football and no remorse. So
these things are ruthless.
So she's watching a game where it's Hunger Games and Space Jam all mixed together because people are just cheering every time someone dies. And then this guy, I guess you can't be surprised later when the kindest one of them takes your fucking eye out.
Yeah.
Not only that, but when they came to with both eyes intact after their experience, this is a quote from them. I have retained one thing from my encounter. I still have the power to see major global disasters before they happen. I only report them to my fiance or close family members, but when I see something clearly and tell them, it always happens. Which, like, okay, why are you not hanging out with like Mr. Biden right now and telling him like, hey, this is coming up? But then I guess like who would believe you? And also right.
Because
I'm sure there's a whole lot of shame that you might feel with like the story at all. Or
yeah.
But I'm sure that's a question that they've gotten a million times of like, oh, well, then why don't you go save the world? So excuse me for being such a jackass. That I shouldn't have said that.
Oh, but yeah, I mean, it's a natural question. I mean, also, wasn't that in the 70s? So maybe they're.
Yeah.
Well, I guess they'd still be probably.
Well, in
alive.
77, they were 8.
Oh,
so they were born in 69.
They were a kid.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure you've gotten that question a million times. If you're not, you've got your own reasons. I should have not assumed something. Yikes. I'm sorry.
Man, you're such an asshole, Em.
As I said it, I was like, oh, I'm sure that's like you're a comedian, tell me a joke. It's like, oh my God. Get the fuck away from me.
Yeah, what's the next? I was like, what's the next thing? And I'm like, I don't want to know. We have coronavirus. It's enough. Yeah, I don't want to know the next thing.
Imagine the psychology that this person has to deal with. It must be a
curse.
Yeah, to know like, oh, something really fucking terrible is going to happen and I can't stop it if I wanted to.
Can't do anything about it. Yeah.
Because also maybe like what are you going to do? You're going to call the president? Like you're going to write the president and he's going to take you seriously of all the other people who are making predictions? Like,
yeah, and that's kind of that same like catch-22 of like, but then is it bound to happen no matter what if you predicted it? Like that's so Raven principle of like it'll happen no matter how much you try to stop it.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, anyway, so that is something that it's just more proof that clairvoyance comes with these praying mantis abductions. And this person also said that they found an implant in their thumb afterwards. And they literally ripped it out of their thumb. And the person says that aliens put a device in their thumb and the praying mantis said, if you take it out, you will die. So I guess that was like just fear mongering because then that person just literally took it out of their thumb and was like, I'm fine.
Bye-bye. Garbage disposal.
It was probably a way just to keep tabs and this person took away their tracking device because ever since they said, I don't feel like I'm being watched anymore. And I used to feel like, I guess they said, I knew that something was going on because even after that one experience, I never remembered anything else, but I know that they were coming back and wiping my memory and I hated the feeling. So I ripped this thing out and ever since then I haven't had that sensation.
I have major goose cam now. This is all very bad.
Well, so this is my favorite one. This is the last one. This comes from the UK. He's a councilman and a driving instructor. His name is Simon. I think I'm actually going to end up doing an episode on him because I found a lot of information on this. But just to give you like the short and sweet part of it, he was adopted by a 9-foot green alien.
What? No.
So this comes from apparently there's a Channel 4 documentary called Confessions of an Alien Abduction.
Oh, no.
And Simon says that an alien once reached. Simon says, which it's all true, and I'm going to believe all of it. Simon says an alien reached for him using, quote, 2 green stick things like bean poles. And I thought, he's British, this is precious. They're not Mummy's hands. Mummy's hands are pink, and Mummy has thumbs. These are green and pointed, and there's 4 of them. I was looking straight into its face. It entered my mind through my eyes, and it sent a message down to my optic nerve into my brain. Another eyes and brain thing. It entered my mind through my eyes and sent a message down my octave nerve into my spine, saying, "I am your real mother. I am your more important mother."
Oh, that's not very nice. Poor mummy.
Poor mummy. Yikes. I hope mummy never heard about this story because
Yeah,
that
not a good
poor woman.
feeling.
So Simon apparently has started meeting this creature at 11 and has been on like hundreds of gallivants in space now because of this experience. Because apparently they would hold hands, and when he would say, "I'm ready," it was almost like the craft was getting consent that like, okay, you want to get beamed up now or what?
Oh my
And
god.
that's how he would go on all these escapades apparently.
Oh my
Um,
god.
Simon says he's had hundreds of experiences, and he even has a kid named Zarka, with an alien that he calls the Cat Queen.
Is the child Earth side or is this
Space side, actually.
space? Okay, good. Because I was like, this poor. If this is a child on Earth and the dad's like,
It's
you're actually
just
an alien, I
my
feel like that.
parents are the Cat Queen and Simon Says.
Yeah, I'd be very confused.
But apparently, Simon has been taken up to space many times to visit Zarka, so he's got like custody, which is nice. He's
I'm
got
sorry, it shouldn't be
some
funny.
custody.
It's wild.
So I was fascinated by this, and I did find out that there's some very, very lengthy YouTube documentaries or YouTube interviews where he goes into full detail. I have not watched them. I wanted to save them for the next time when I decide to cover another alien story, but Simon is still around. So Simon, if you listen to this, I would love to ask you some questions myself before we report
Also, I'm
on
sorry
ya.
I laughed. I think I was just so taken aback.
I would think
And
Simon's
also
pretty
scared.
the vibe I got from Simon and like the little clips I saw was that he was super chill. Like he
Oh,
was
good.
like, I feel like he kind of knows that like, yeah, this is gonna sound weird, but this is my story, so we're running with it. So
Listen, we believe you, okay? Whatever you want to tell us, we'll believe it.
if that's not the truth, Simon, and you're not chill and like you're let us know what you if you want to participate in this because I would love to cover you. I plan on it. So if you would like to give your 2 cents, I am here for it. So
Wow.
anyway, so that is some of the many stories of the Mantis aliens.
That was terrifying.
Thank
I don't
you.
think I realized how terrifying it would be, but it's very scary.
I'm interested. I'm curious that the Laura Clarke one though, she really made it seem I would have stereotyped all praying mantis aliens after that as really, really
Yeah,
awful
they're on the dark
demonic
side.
creatures. Yeah.
I'm not
And
gonna lie, I don't have the sense that they're super good either, though.
I feel neutral with a tinge of fear, but I definitely would have said like, oh, apparently praying mantis aliens suck. And it's like, okay, well, a lot of them seem to be like really calming and maybe
Fair.
healers,
I mean,
but
and you can say that about humans too. It's not like
that's true.
they have to have the same personality.
Not all
But
praying mantises, okay?
not all.
Get it
Oh my
together.
god, that's our new stance, and we will stand by it.
Not all praying mantises. All right, well, there it is. I hope to cover Simon eventually. So I would like to hear more about this cat queen. Obviously, we
Me
are all
too.
intrigued by that. But yes, there it is.
Wow. Well, that's scary. I mean, a couple people have tweeted that they were freaked out when you said, we know him too. Like, we know God too.
Oh,
And that still to this day, like, every time I read that tweet, it freaks me out.
which makes me think again that like if we're going with this theory that the praying mantis people were the
Mhm.
first of their kind and they're the supreme being, then of course they would know God
They're
because
like, nice try.
they're like ha ha ha. Oh yeah, you're talking to the man right here, you know?
Yes.
So I don't know. It is very weird that how many connections. I also didn't notice the connections until today about the how many people have had eye or brain experiences.
It's a
It
lot.
it freaks me out all over again because I thought I was gonna have to worry about like my extremities or
Well, you
like
usually worry about your belly button and stuff like that, which
yeah.
is very
Yeah.
freaky, obviously, but like your eyes,
And
no.
Laura Clarke, like the only like stuff that really happened to her was next to her belly button too. So
Yes.
I feel like this was like one random praying mantis who like wasn't going up to protocol, or maybe he was like, like Satan is like just a fallen angel. Maybe
Yeah.
this praying mantis was like just the fallen of his order, and he was like,
Oh.
I'm
Oh.
doing things my way,
He's
and he just
rebelling
yeah, I think that's what that was.
against mummy. Yeah.
Yeah,
We've all
yes.
been there.
Oh well. Anyway, thank you for letting me share a little more of that
That was great.
whole thing.
I mean, that was scary. You've been scaring me lately. I love it.
Ah! Flex is innovating period care with products that are body safe, made for comfort, and made to keep you moving.
They have the Flex disc, which is a one-time use menstrual disc that fits perfectly inside your body. It actually can be worn for up to 12 hours and hold as much flow as 3 super tampons. I really like it because you don't have to lug products around. You can like forget about it for half the day basically, and it works really well, better than a tampon as far as I'm concerned. And if you want to go zero waste and have the planet love you even more, don't we all? Pick up the Flex cup, which is a reusable menstrual cup that Cosmo rated #1. This is my personal favorite. They have a pull tab on the Flex cup that it's the only cup on the market that removes really easily like a tampon. I was always kind of scared to try a menstrual cup, and it honestly has changed the game big time for me.
So say goodbye to cramps, put sex back on the table, and lend Mother Nature a hand. Go to flexfits.com/drink and use code DRINK for 20% off Flex disc starter kits or 10% off your first Flex cup, plus free US shipping. And that's code DRINK at FLEX at flexfits.com/drink. You're looking like 3 Fs that I know very well.
Yeah?
You're looking a little fab, a little fit, a little fun. Lucky for you, we are screaming now about FabFitFun. Ah!
Lucky for me, because there's only one reason I am FabFitFun, and it's because of my box, my seasonal box. I love FabFitFun. Em and I both love it, even though Allison usually takes all the products from Em's
Yes.
box.
It's not
But
safe. It's not
it's not
safe at
safe.
all in my house. Even when back when I worked at ISS, I worked in a room with 3 other people, and all of them would get their FabFitFun box sent to the office. So they would have FabFitFun day, and then I would come home and Allison would
Yeah, I
open the
forgot
FabFitFun
about
box.
that.
It was all over the place. FabFitFun is passionate about showcasing amazing women, and 20 female-founded brands are in the spring box this season.
So recently I wanted to try out these Say Beauty, they're like reusable makeup removers because I'm trying to be more eco-friendly, and they're amazing. And I never knew like where to look or how to try them, and FabFitFun put them in my box, and now I use them all the time. So you can find some of your favorite products through FabFitFun.
Order your spring box today. Sign up now so you can snag amazing products like Christine's face. No, I'm just kidding.
I Say
like,
Beauty
like the Say
rounds.
Beauty. Or use coupon code DRINK when you customize for $10 off your first box at www.fabfitfun.com.
That's coupon code DRINK for $10 off your first box at www.fabfitfun.com.
Well, okay, so perfect timing. I don't have to speak anymore, and now my yard is as silent as ever. And now it's Christine's turn.
Yay! So. Well, that's okay because I am going to scare you this time. Once again, I actually, for the first time ever today and next week, I'm doing a 2-part episode.
I'm so excited. This is
to be fair, I should have done 2-parters like Jeffrey Dahmer, which was like a 3.5-hour episode. So I recognize that there were plenty of times for me to do that, but I just never did. And so now I'm doing it. Okay,
I'm so excited. I'm predicting now this is about to become a thing that Christine does, because once I realized the power of multi-parters, once I realized the power and the freedom that gave me of like, oh my gosh, I don't have to panic and do 50 pages of notes tonight.
And you don't have to like cut things out that you really want to share, but it's too long. Or you can hear the first episode and then like see people's feedback and then touch on it in the next episode. I mean, it's great.
I think
I haven't done it yet, but it's great.
This is the beginning of a new era for Christine Schieffer. I think
I hope people don't hate it.
Everyone get ready for several multi-parters, because I think we've found Christine's niche all of a sudden.
All right, don't be mad yet. Okay, folks, just listen to this first, and then
it's a good thing.
We can decide if you like it or not. So today I'm going to cover the first part of Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker.
Christine.
I have been waiting to do this for a long time.
Snaps, by the way, to you to have a very successful true crime podcast with over 200 episodes, and you still haven't covered the Night Stalker.
There are so many big ones I still have to do, which is wild. I mean, I didn't do Jeffrey Dahmer till this year or this past year.
Still, I mean, props to you. Still finding content. That's Christine right there.
I'm pleased about it because I waited inadvertently until this docuseries came out, and when I watched that, I was like, thank God I haven't covered this yet, because it was honestly, I don't really get scared by those true crime shows anymore. Not to brag, but my brain has just been overloaded so much that I think I just shut down nowadays. But Night Stalker, the documentary on Netflix, scared the absolute bananas out of me. Like it really,
Really?
really freaked me out. Have you seen it? Probably not, right? You don't.
I have not seen it.
Yeah, it is frightening. It's very gory. It's very
What's
graphic.
I was gonna say, what's so scary about it?
It's something about like his crimes are very scary to begin with, and then they really go into like the graphic details. And
Mm.
this guy, I just didn't realize how wildly pervasive this guy was until
To be
you watch it.
honest, he's one of those figures where kind of like with I would say he's put in like clumped into like the big five or whatever of like,
Hmm.
really horrific murderers. And with all of them, I'm learning that I really didn't know anything about them until you give me the scoop. Because
Ooh.
what I think of, I didn't know really anything about Ted Bundy. I didn't know anything about Jeffrey Dahmer, but because we hear the name so often, I just
Yeah, you
felt
just
like
kind of
I knew it.
assume yeah, totally. I'm the
And
same
when
way.
it comes to the Night Stalker, I actually don't know.
I mean, to be
I know
honest, I didn't either.
nothing.
I didn't
Okay,
really
good.
either. So this docu-series was like very eye-opening and very terrifying. I tried to get Blaze to watch it with me again last night and he like wouldn't. So we watched Dateline instead. We
Okay,
compromised.
got it.
But so this is a pretty intense story. It's pretty graphic. It's very brutal. So I just want to warn you. A couple people, not really a couple, well, yeah, a couple people were like, your stories are really intense lately. Tone it down. And I was like, um,
Oh,
I actually plan them way in advance. Like they're, I can't change it now. I'm sorry. You know what I mean?
yeah.
I was like, well,
It's like,
sorry.
well, I just did like 30 hours of research, so no.
And it's not
Which like
intentional. Like I'm not doing it because you told me not to. It's just because I can't. It's too late. I can't change it now. So I
it's like we're
apologize.
recording tomorrow and I can't give proper notes this in advance as I read your text or your
So this
tweet.
is the warning.
Yeah.
If you're like, I don't want any more of this. Like, here are some specific trigger warnings: blood, rape, gore. Then just skip it. And I get it.
Yeah, we totally understand. I mean, not that it's, we like to put out content people want to listen to, but we're also very aware that there's just some shit that people can't listen to. Like that's
Yeah,
fine.
yeah,
So, uh
exactly.
but good point that you have actually been doing some pretty gruesome ones lately,
They're
but
intense.
but you know what? Props to your research. And also now we know that it's a two-parter. So if you happen to be someone who maybe feels squeamish or uncomfortable with listening to this, then you know that maybe we'll see you in 2 weeks,
Yes, exactly. So we'll see what happens, how you feel. But this to consider that your warning, and I apologize. So let's get into it. I'm sorry, let's crack into it. Who am I kidding?
I don't know. I don't know.
So we are in the 80s. It's Los Angeles, baby. Friggin' sunshine, height of 80s pop culture. LA is hopping and bopping.
Mm.
I love the intro to Night Stalker docuseries because it's like 80s LA, like convertibles, and I just love it.
Oh,
So March 17th, 1985, Esther Petrar, an LA resident, remembers the following quote. I was working at AT&T and across the street was a mini mall and there was a Salvation Army store and I would just spend my lunch hour in there. And once I was in there was a table that was full of junk and there was this hat and I picked it up because the letters on it said ACDC and I didn't know what it was, so I threw it back down. And then on my right, here comes this man and he stood right there and he picked up the hat, looked at it, turned around and looked at me and kind of smiled a little bit. And he had the devil on his hand and he got the hat and walked away. When I finished work, I was on the freeway with my little car, and here comes somebody speeding behind me. Then all of a sudden, he just swerves around my car. It's like he's right there, and he turns and he's looking at me. It's the same guy I saw at the thrift store. And he had
mm.
this horrible big grin, and he's missing all these teeth. It was like a killer clown.
Oh my God. By the
So
way, I did not mean to gasp at the part about bad teeth. That was not the
I
plan.
think it's the
It was
grin.
it was the grinning that I was freaking out about, but before anyone like thinks that I like take an issue with teeth or something.
Yeah, no, it's
But
like the grinning without, yeah, there's something like
yeah,
really spooky about that. And like,
the intentionality of it of
it has the killer clown vibe of like the happy thing that's not actually happy.
gross.
Yeah.
Okay.
On that St. Patrick's Day, March 17th, 32-year-old detective Gil Carrillo, who's kind of like the main character of the docu-series, you kind of follow the investigation through his eyes, was sent to a location where a garage door was open and blood spatter was found both on the floor and the door, which separates the garage from the condo. So it's like one of
Ugh.
those systems where you drive into the garage and walk into the house.
Yeah.
So Detective Carrillo goes inside the condo and sees a bloody phone inside the bedroom and finds 34-year-old Dale Okazaki lying on the kitchen floor. She had been shot in the forehead.
Wow. Okay.
Maria Hernandez, who was Dale's roommate, had narrowly escaped. So this is one of the wildest like encounters you'll ever hear. So Maria had entered their house via the garage door, which she opened with the remote. She then got her keys out to open the inside door to the house before turning around to see a male suspect with a star-gazed look wearing an AC/DC hat.
Oh shit.
He had his arms stretched out with his gun pointed and he launched toward her. She put her hands up as he pulled the trigger, and then, in like this wild turn of events, the bullet deflected off the keys in her hand.
That was God. In those
Isn't that
moments, and
wild?
that's one of those things where I'm like, there's no explanation. That's
It's wild. It's so
wow.
unheard of. I mean, and so however, the blast knocked her to the floor, and this guy, the suspect, obviously like doesn't think that he missed or doesn't think that the
Right.
keys deflected it, so he assumes she's down and he's killed her. So he leaves her, and she had been pushed back by the blast anyway, so she's on the ground but like not shot, which that moment of like trying to figure out if you've been shot must be so harrowing.
Oh. Mm-hmm.
I can't even imagine. So she's on the floor, and he obviously assumed that he had done the trick, and he left her there and went inside the condo. And it must have also been horrible because she knows her roommate's inside. And so he goes inside. She sees him go inside.
Mm.
So after he left, Maria jumped up and started running down the alleyway when she heard another gunshot. And that was when she kind of realized, like, oh shit, my roommate was in the house. He just killed my friend.
That's just, oh my God.
So
Wow.
concerned for her housemate Dale, Maria goes to the front door. This is wild because she thinks whoever this guy is will exit the way he came because he came in through the garage. So she goes to the front door, which was like a smart move, thinking like, okay, he won't go out that way. He will go out the way he came in.
Yeah.
But here he comes. He walks right out the front door, and they both like freeze, kind of like this praying mantis. Like they both like freeze eye to eye, like both
Uh-huh.
shocked to see each other because she's like thinking he's gonna escape the other way. He thinks she's dead in the garage,
Right.
and she's standing
Right.
there without blood on her. And so they kind of freeze and stare at each other. And then Maria puts her hands up and says to him, "Hey, you already shot me once. Do you really have to shoot me again?"
Oh my God. Wow.
I
Okay.
know. So
Okay.
then
Badass.
badass, and then he just puts the gun down like to his side and walks away and doesn't shoot her again. So I think he was like totally jarred by that moment of she just came back from the dead and is like in his mind, for lack of a
Wow.
better term.
Oh my God. She's a superhero.
Yeah. So I mean, it's really, really sad she didn't get to her friend in time because Dale was found dead. But the
Right.
next day, police find out that 40 minutes after Dale's murder, the Monterey police had also gotten a call, and a murder had occurred only a mile from Dale and Maria's house that
Oh,
same day.
shit. Okay.
Yeah, so this guy's like running rampant. So a young woman, and this one, I think that one of the reasons that he's so scary is that he had so many different MOs. Like he
You
just,
can't, you can't, you can't pick where he's going to be
yeah,
next. You can't guess.
it's like Israel Keys. Like there's no rhyme or reason. It's just kind of all over the place.
Well, I was going to say, do we know? I was going to say later on, do we find out what the reasoning for that house was? Or was it very Israel
It's
Keys of
just
like,
kind of
geez,
seems to be
because you were
opportunity.
home?
Yeah.
Yikes.
Yeah, there doesn't seem to be too much rhyme or reason. And so like this is a perfect example. So a young woman was driving down the street, and all of a sudden she's stopped by another car and yanked out of the car and shot for no reason.
Wow.
Just driving down the street.
A nightmare.
It's a
A
nightmare.
nightmare.
Like a nightmare. And her name was Tsai Lan Yu, and she was only 30 years old. She was left sprawled out in the street, and her last words were "help me."
Oh
And
my
he just
God.
he just pulled, like, for no apparent reason, just pulled her out of the car, shot her there, and left her to die.
Oh my God.
Yeah,
Okay.
so really just like alarming for police. Obviously, it appeared to be the same caliber of weapon, a 22 caliber gun, but it was too early to assume this was the same murderer. But obviously, this connection was noted at this point. Meanwhile, Maria Hernandez, who was the housemate who had the superhero who had escaped his attack.
Yeah.
She is at the hospital. Police send a staff artist around to get a sketch of the murderer, and she describes him as a tall, thin, light-skinned Hispanic or Caucasian man who had disheveled hair and brown-stained gap teeth. He was wearing all black, a members-only jacket, and an AC/DC hat. So that
Wow.
is the description she gave to police. So 10 days later, after the murder of Okazaki and Yu, on March 27th, there is a double murder out in Whittier County, California.
Okay.
So Vincent and Maxine Zazzara, their house was entered via an open bathroom window. Also so scary. These like break and entering through windows, just so scary to me. I don't know.
Yeah, it's okay. Just keep going.
I'm with you. That's exactly how I feel.
Yeah.
So the place was ransacked and $40,000 worth of jewelry was stolen.
Take the money. Fine. Leave me alone. Take the
Well,
money. Okay.
Nope.
Wow.
Maxine, this is not good. This part's not good.
Is this the part with the plates?
No, that was
That's Eron's.
That was Eron's, yeah.
Okay.
I
didn't know if
so scary.
Also so scary, but I didn't know if they had the same things.
He sometimes went after couples, but it wasn't as prominent or as like specifically targeted as Joseph D'Angelo was.
Okay.
Yeah, so Maxine, age 44, was found on her bed with several stab wounds. She had been raped and the murderer had cut her eyes out. Yeah, I know. It's a lot of
This episode and eyes, man.
I know. I don't like it.
I wonder psychologically what that means. Like he was ashamed and didn't want to be looked at? Or...
Yeah, he mentions it later. He threatened someone. I mean, I'll just tell you now, but he threatened someone, if you look at me, I'll cut your eyes out. So it might have been like they looked at him.
Called her, she called the bluff.
Well, no, so the next, well, maybe, but the next person, he said, or a victim later, he told her, if you look at me, I'll cut your eyes out, presumably, which is why he cut this, first person's.
Oh my God. Wow.
Just heinous. And I want to be clear, I don't know if this happened. I tell myself this happened post-mortem. I was going to look it up, and then I was like, it's 2 a.m. I can't look this up.
I don't need to know.
Mental health.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm assuming, just for my own sanity and well-being, is that this happened after her death.
Wow.
And she was stabbed several times. Her husband, Vincent, who was 64, was murdered as he was sleeping on the couch with a gunshot to the temple. So typically it is kind of the same situation where the man would just be shot once just to kill him, and then the woman would typically be more brutalized.
And are we talking about SA assault? Sexual assault?
Well, he raped Maxine, if that's what you're asking.
Okay, yeah, I didn't know how brutal it got. I thought maybe
she was found with several stab wounds. She'd been raped. I think the eyes cut out got overshadowed that, maybe.
Yeah, my brain didn't process the first 10 seconds before that.
That's how he would, like, if you look at me essentially while I'm committing this assault, then I think that was kind of the threat behind it.
Can we just assume that every victim throughout the story for the most part is going to be...
No.
Okay.
I mean, the first two weren't. Remember, he just walked into her condo, shot her, pulled
I'm just wondering if it gets... I'm trying to like piece it together before you tell me, and I'm like, does it just escalate and escalate and escalate?
I mean, he was convicted of 13 counts of murder, so we're only a couple in, so it's hard to say what's worse and not worse, because it's all just so bad.
I know.
But that's the thing, is like, he doesn't have a clear MO. It's just all over the place. So, this is his first double murder. He goes in through the window. He, sexually assaults Maxine. He shoots her husband. However, it was a 22 caliber gun. So that was another clue that they connected to the other two murders, but it's also LA County, or this is even Whittier County, but it's also Los Angeles area. Like, you can't just say, oh, it's the same gun, it's the same guy. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, it took a lot to actually put all this together. So the biggest clue that the suspect had left behind was a shoe print. So this becomes definitely a big thing. So the soil outside of the restroom window retained a rough print of a shoe sized 11 to 12. So that was where he had entered through the open bathroom window, and they found a print of a shoe. So this was his fourth murder within 10 days. And to make matters worse, around this time, there had also been a series of child abductions going on. So I know.
Fuck. Oh my God.
Trust me. I don't know how to frame this except just
I didn't even know kids got involved with this
Uh-huh.
story. Wow.
That's why
Okay.
it's so confusing and scary and like ridiculous. Is it's so all over the place. Like, there's like no rhyme or reason. All over the place. Nobody's safe. You know, there's nothing you can do to not be a victim. Like, not that I ever think you can do something to not be a victim, but you know what I mean. Like, there's no
Yeah.
sense of
There's no like at least Son of Sam, like, oh, everyone get a wig or dye your
yeah,
hair, you
exactly, or
know?
stay inside. Well, that doesn't seem to work here, right?
Right.
Yeah, except the location of Southern California, but that doesn't really help you much if you're in that area. But
Right.
yeah, so this is when also simultaneously during these 4 murders, there were also child abductions going on. So one of the survivors was Anastasia Hronis, who was 6, when she was awakened in the middle of the night by someone who she thought was a family member. In her words, he looked familiar. He abducted her in the night, put her in his car, and she remembers while driving that he told her to open up the glove compartment. She did, and there was a gun inside. He shut it and said, "Just so you know, that's there." So just as a threat.
Oh my God. Okay.
Yep. In their time together, he forced her to look at him, touch him, and made her get into a zipped up duffel bag, saying, "You need to be quiet, do what I say." He then carried her into a dingy house where he abused her sexually. Then he put her back in the bag. I don't know any more details than that. That's just all she gave. He put her back in the bag, the duffel bag, when they left the house, and then put her in his car, pulled over, took her out of the duffel bag, told her to walk across the street to the gas station and have them call 911 to get her family to come pick her up. Just wild. So,
Also, that feels like he kind of wants to be heard or seen or recognized, because if he's saying, "Oh, specifically call 911," couldn't he just say
I
like,
think he had a weird thing about of like, I won't murder them.
"Okay,
You know what I mean? Like the child abductees survive typically,
okay, oh, okay,
which
okay,
he was saying like once he did whatever he was doing, which does not show any kindness or love toward children. So I
right."
think that's a moot argument, but I think in his own head he had like a
He
line he didn't cross or something with
Okay,
kids.
finally a moral somewhere deep,
Yeah.
deep down.
And I
Okay,
doubt this was even a very stringent moral. It's probably just like out of convenience at some points. But so he told her, like, okay, now go across the street, call 911. That's it. So she didn't have any really real information about this guy. But this was only one of the plethora of other accounts of abduction and sexual assault of minors going on in the area at the same time. So, Detective Gil Carrillo, who I mentioned earlier, was working on the 4 murders that happened within 10 days, and he was the one who noticed that the child's descriptions of their perpetrators matched the perpetrator provided by Maria Hernandez. So, tall, thin, light skinned, Hispanic, or Caucasian, had disheveled hair, brown skin gap, teeth, and a pungent odor. We've added that now into the mix.
oh,
Cute.
okay,
So he's thinking now there's a strong likelihood this is the same person. And
okay,
I'll just tell you right now, people were like, "You're ridiculous. Like, you're an amateur. You're like, what, in your early 30s? Like, you don't know what you're talking about." Nobody, to be fair, it is, I think, highly unlikely that a guy is abducting kids, letting them go, and meanwhile, randomly assaulting
right,
grown people. It's just like not a clear MO.
right. Well, which it was exactly what his MO was. Like his
Right.
MO was
Exactly.
to throw
Exactly.
you off the fucking scent every time.
He just had no like real target. It was
Reasoning.
just kind of everybody is potentially a target. So he brought this outlook to a meeting in the LA area, but the rest of the folks in law enforcement literally laughed. They told him this just doesn't happen and like turned their noses up at his theory. So he's for now just kind of on the outside, and they're like, drop it. You know, it's like that classic cliche of like, drop it to the investigator who has like a theory, you know.
Yeah.
So on May 14th, the killer struck again. William Doy was shot to death before his wife Lillian was raped and beaten. Detectives say William saved his wife's life by calling 911 before he died.
Ugh.
So when detectives found Lillian, on the thumb of her left hand, she was wearing thumb cuffs, which are like handcuffs, but they're like only for your thumbs, which I mean, I Googled them. They look exactly like what you'd expect. And I guess they were initially used for they were intended to be used for like drug arrests and things that weren't, I guess, as they were meant to
Intense.
fit inside the pocket of whoever it was, whoever was arresting you. So they're
Okay.
like very small, and I guess they just hold your thumbs together so you can't move your hands. Uh,
Interesting.
Yeah.
I feel like it makes sense that you cuff something, you cuff something smaller than your hand so that your hand
Yeah.
can't get through, but a thumb to me feels like you can just, you know.
Yeah. You can't really get out of them, I don't think. I mean, they really do like kind of clamp down on your thumbs, but also they're not really used. So I guess
Huh.
they're not as effective as handcuffs.
Okay.
Um, so really odd. Like they're very rare. You don't see them very often. So it was a weird thing for police to find on a victim.
Sure.
But so she was wearing these thumb cuffs. The next day, the killer drove to Burbank. Yikes.
Oh, wow.
And snuck into the home of 42-year-old Carol Kyle. At gunpoint, the killer bound Carol and her 11-year-old son with handcuffs and ransacked the house. He released Carol so she could direct him to where the family's valuables were, and then he raped her. He repeatedly ordered her not to look at him, telling her at one point that he would cut her eyes out if she did. So that's kind of where we get the
Okay.
idea of why maybe that was part of his thing.
Yeah.
He fled the scene after retrieving her son from the closet and then binding them together with handcuffs again. So it's odd because now he didn't kill her this time, but maybe it's because of her son. Like the only connection I can think of is like she had a child with her,
Huh.
and he
Okay.
seems to not kill the children. So that's the only thing I
Sure.
can imagine as to why he didn't try and kill her.
Okay.
So around the same time, one of Detective Gill's friends who worked in Monterey showed him a picture of a footprint that was taken at the crime scene of one of the child abductions. The girl was 8 years old, was taken from her house to a construction site, sexually assaulted, and then just set free. And at the construction site, they had luckily poured concrete that day. So in the concrete, they found a shoe print.
Oh, okay.
So Gill recognized the shoe print right away. It was the exact same footprint as that was left at the Zazar crime scene outside the bathroom window. So they matched exactly. And
Okay.
now this is evidence pointing to his theory of the child abductor and the murder rapist
Or
is
the
the
same
same
person.
person. Yeah.
Okay.
So meanwhile, the killer is just still on this rampage. First, Patty Elaine Higgins, only 32 years old, was killed viciously in Arcadia. And 4 days later, Mary Cannon, age 75, had her throat slit.
Oh my God. Wow.
Yeah.
It really is just fucking random.
Isn't it? And it's some are children, some are elderly, some are in the middle, some are shot, some are stabbed. It's just bonkers. Like there's no rhyme or reason. So then on the 5th of July, which was only 3 days later, Sierra PD get an alarmed call. A man had broken into the bedroom of 16-year-old Whitney Bennett.
Hmm.
He had beaten her with a tire iron and tried to strangle her with a telephone cord, but as sparks flew from the cord, the man gave up and fled. He would
Wow.
later reveal that he believed this to be a sign of divine intervention.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm sure she did too. Like, okay, fine. That's a divine intervention. Get out of here.
Wow.
So he dropped the cord and Whitney began coughing and breathing again as he fled. So she survived. And I wonder, that makes me think with Dale's murder, if Maria, her housemate, when she said like, you already shot me and I survived, I wonder if that was him
Yeah.
saying like, okay, this is
That's a great point.
you survived. It's not in my hands anymore.
It was divine intervention that you were
Yep.
supposed to survive this. So
And
here
you
I
even
go.
called it that, you know?
Yeah.
So maybe, and he had such a twisted thought process of how all this worked. I mean, we'll get into that later, but I think he had some weird belief system that he'd built in his head about what he was allowed to do, what he wasn't allowed to do, what was part of the plan, what wasn't. I mean,
I know we've said this before. I know we've already said that like it's crazy how random these victims are. But also what I meant, it's super interesting to me how random the choice of or the weapon of choice.
mm-hmm.
Because usually it'd be like, okay, I'm just gonna, usually how you kill people. I would imagine like you've got at least like one good skill that you're confident in will do the really horrible job.
Or something
And
that like satisfies you as a killer, and that's why you do it, like a knife.
yeah, there's something even more unhinged about like not even having like a connection with your own weapon and
Yeah, of
like
like not having a method or something.
Yeah, it's
Because
just
like we're
like,
seeing
oh, I'll slit this person's throat. I'll shoot
right,
this person. I'm gonna
right,
strangle you
stab
with a
this
phone
guy.
cord.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
It's really, that's a good point. It does feel so unhinged and like sporadic, which like obviously any murderer with any weapon is unhinged, presumably any serial killer,
right.
but like it adds an extra layer of like creepiness somehow. I don't know.
Hmm.
So at this point, no fingerprints had been found at any of the recent crime scenes. However, they did find a shoe print in blood. And you
Finding
guessed
a
it,
lot
it
of
is
shoe
the same
prints.
one. I know he's kind of dropping the ball there.
In
Uh,
theory, if he didn't wear shoes, if he went barefoot to all of his killings, would he have made it out? Like, are the shoe? Is that the smoking gun? His.
no,
Oh, okay, interesting.
interestingly, I know. But
Hmm.
also, you wonder, don't your toes have prints?
I guess so. That's
Maybe
a
they
good
would
point
have caught
too.
him with the toe print.
Or maybe if you're going if you're going all the way with like random victims, random weapons, start wearing random fucking shoes. Like pick
Right.
different shoes every time.
He definitely didn't like think
Yeah.
of that.
Wear some fish flops or something. Like throw them off the
Yeah, no one will
scent.
catch you if you're wearing fish flops.
I'm saying.
So the following day, July 6th, police received groundbreaking information. A woman named Lorraine Rodriguez had fallen asleep on the living room couch while her husband John slept in the bedroom. She woke up to a very loud noise and thought it was John, so she got angry because she didn't want him to wake the kids. Then the house went really still and she knew immediately it wasn't John. She woke him up and he got his gun and walked around the house. They noticed a window that they never opened was all the way open,
Ugh.
and it's scary, terrifying. And when they shined a light outside into the flower bed, they spotted a perfectly distinct footprint in the mud. So I guess the soil had been perfectly saturated to the
Hmm.
point where like a shoe print was perfectly able to be cast out of that dirt,
Wow.
luckily. So the deputy who arrived on the scene first did everything he could, thank God, to preserve the integrity of the footprint so that they were able to get like a perfect copy of it.
So wait, this family survived, like nothing happened to them?
Yeah, because she thought she woke up and was like angry at her husband for making so much noise, so the killer fled. She woke up. He
Uh
didn't. He made too much noise, and she woke up.
gotcha. I would have
Um,
thought he would have been like, yeah, I made a lot of noise because I'm about to kill you, and then just like
well,
keep
it was also a
going.
family with kids. I think maybe it was too much. Like
Oh,
he was like intimidated or something. Because it
yeah.
seems like he comes up on people sleeping a lot or when they're, not expecting him. I mean, obviously, when would you ever be expecting him? But um, yeah, I don't know. I think he just got scared off by her waking up, is
It's
what it
always
seems.
shocking when a serial killer gets scared off. It's like
Right?
that's the thing that fucking scares you away.
That
Like
I woke
that's
up and yelled, "John, shut up!"
it.
Like
Yeah,
that scared you.
it just proves like how random it
Hmm.
is. Like I mean, you have no idea what's going to be the thing that saves you.
Yeah, totally. And he screwed himself because he left that perfect shoe print. So, even though he didn't hurt anybody there, he left like really good evidence. So they were able to make a cast of this, and they found out it was an Avia shoe, which at the time was very uncommon and had only just started to be manufactured. I'm pretty sure they're more common now. But it was quickly confirmed they were looking for an aerobics shoe of Avia brand, size 11 and a half. And at this point, Detective Gill has been assigned a new partner, Detective Frank Salerno. So now they're like the duo on the case. And Frank was actually famous amongst the force for having put together the 1977 case of the Hillside Strangler. So he already had like a
Hmm.
reputation of like, solving really big cases. So now
So
he's on the
they're a
scene.
real power couple.
Yeah, well, people were kind of rejecting Gil at this point, and they were like, why does Gil get to work with him? Because Gil's running around saying, oh, the child abductor is, and he's really young. And so he was getting a lot of criticism and judgment. But yes,
They
ultimately,
be
they become a power
they
couple.
become a power couple.
Yeah.
Yes.
They were kind of criticized. Like he was criticized, and people were kind of like, why does he get to work with this awesome, like, hotshot detective? But then, yeah, the two of them together are a power duo.
Hmm.
So Salerno flew out to meet the designer of Avia shoes, who provided him with spreadsheets of their sales data. And what police learned was that on January 9th, 1985, 1,356 pairs of these Model 440 Avias entered the US from Taiwan for distribution.
Hmm.
And because of the description of the suspect given by survivors, they reckon they were looking for a black pair of shoes because people had seen him wearing black shoes. And there were only 6 black 11 and a half aerobic shoes manufactured. 5 went to Arizona and only 1 went to Los Angeles.
Whoa. Again, that's some divine shit right there.
Wild, right?
That's weirdly convenient.
Well, it's not, because once they
Oh.
figured that out, they were completely at a dead end and it went nowhere.
Oh.
The end. So it feels like it's going to be the smoking gun, and then it like fully is not. It's very
Okay.
frustrating. Like that's you know what? That's the other thing about this documentary that I'm remembering now, is that every time you're like, oh my God, they have to get him now, something happens where it's like, no, like you want to pull your hair out, because it's like they were so close, and then they
Yeah.
didn't catch him.
What a yarn dangle, like for like a few,
Yes, it's
you
like a
know?
tease. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's honestly, it was infuriating to watch. I remember like just my watch was like, you need to breathe please before you die, and I was like, I can't. So yeah, so the dead end, fully dead end with the shoe, but it still became an important factor in that it linked the suspect to other crimes. So they were still able to see the shoe print and say, okay, well, it's the same guy as this place, and this place. So at least it
Okay.
had that benefit. So even when the LA News found out about this detail and wanted to publish it, police like begged them not to reveal it, because it was like one of the only things that the killer didn't realize he was leaving behind his shoe print, and they wanted him to keep wearing the shoes so that
Yeah.
they could catch him.
Yeah.
So basically now Gil Carrillo and Frank Salerno began visiting every unsolved murder in LA, which I presume is a lot, hoping to
Wow.
find a connection between this guy and these other cases. So one of the cases they identified was the case of Mabel and Florence Bell on May 29th, 85. They were two sisters. This one's, I mean, they're all really sad, but this one's really sad. They were two sisters in their 80s, and they lived together in Monrovia, California, up in kind of like a secluded hillside area. They were very close. One of the sisters took care of the other one. A gardener found them in their bedrooms 2 days later. Mabel had been sexually assaulted and beaten to death with a hammer, and Florence was left in
God.
critical condition, barely alive. She survived for 6 weeks after the attack, but she died on July 15th.
Holy
So
shit.
just really brutal, really violent,
Oh
really
my God.
nonsensical and sad. So the suspect had entered through a rear door, and while committing the murder had stepped on an alarm clock, which I guess had fallen on the floor during the attack.
Okay.
And they were able to match the shoe print on the alarm clock to the shoe print.
This man needs to cut his feet off, because like it is always one step away from, I mean, it keeps his stupid feet.
He's like, I'm wearing gloves. I'm not leaving any hair, nothing else.
But
It's
he's like
just these damn shoes.
literally stepping on clocks, and he's like he's the only one, like there's only one pair of shoes in LA. I mean, there's always so many almost with just his shoes.
And that's the frustrating thing, is you're like, this should be able to catch this guy, but instead you see they're so close, and then these two elderly women get murdered. It's so infuriating, because you're like, they were so close to saving all these other people, or preventing all these other murders. So it's just extra sad and scary. So apparently after he stepped on this alarm clock and did what he did pretty morbidly, which we see sometimes, which always freaks me out, is that the suspect had apparently gotten super comfortable after killing Mabel, and then like had a snack in their kitchen, which always, I mean, Golden State Killer did this too. It's just extra freaky. And for a first time, which became somewhat of a pattern, he drew a pentagram in Mabel's lipstick on the bedroom wall. And then he drew it on one of the sisters' legs after she died.
Weird. I mean, that's awful. And it's also weird because it's like,
yes,
for some reason, I understand that like he's already killing people, so he's already mentally unstable. But there's something even, it feels like the lack of stability has increased once
it's
you
almost
start
like
drawing
he's just
on walls.
Completely, especially like it's not like he planned it either. He just was like, oh, let me find something to write with. So I can talk about Satan for a second. Like it just so, and then have a snack.
And also, was he being called the Night Stalker at this point? Like, did he want the name Night Stalker? Was he?
That was a media given name, which I think they usually are in these cases, but I don't actually remember at what point he kind of got the moniker. So I don't know. It was probably around this time.
Okay.
I'm not sure, honestly.
Because I wonder what it feels like to like be named after someone else that already did this kind of stuff. Like, because if there was already the original Night Stalker,
but
now
I
you're
don't
just
think
the
he
Night
was
Stalker.
called. Was he called the original Night Stalker before the Night Stalker? I don't know.
Oh, I don't know who came first.
Well, the original Night Stalker came first, but I don't know if they like Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the naming, how the naming worked. That's a great
My
point.
my thought would be like if you really want to make a name for yourself and all of a sudden you just get the same name someone else already had.
I don't
It's
think he
like
had I don't think the original Night Stalker was called, I think he was called East Area Rapist at that point, but I'm not totally sure.
anyway, it's literally so unimportant. I was just wondering, like, I wonder for his own ego how it must feel to like just share the name with another
That's
serial
a good point
killer.
because it says here on the internet, on Wikipedia, it says D'Angelo was known as the Night Stalker in the area before being renamed the original Night Stalker after Richard Ramirez received the name Night Stalker. So
Well,
yeah,
technically, he could have stayed the East area rapist. Well, because I was gonna say that since Richard Ramirez is on the West Coast, they could have had like East Coast Night Stalker, West Coast Night Stalker.
well, they were both on the West Coast. They were both Southern California.
Oh, really? I think I
Yeah.
heard East area, and I assumed East
It was
Coast.
just the east
Sorry.
side of the town of like Visalia or whatever, but it was no, it was Southern California. It was like the same area,
Sorry,
Los
I'm
Angeles
totally
County.
interrupting you.
No,
Go.
you're good. I mean, yeah, I hadn't really thought about that, but I think Night Stalker was just like such a creepy name that he didn't probably care.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it just reminds me of that story you recently did where
Oh yeah,
someone
the Louisiana whatever Baton Rouge serial killer, and it was
yeah where
like a
he got
different serial killer.
yeah he ends up just getting called like
The
the other
other.
one. So I'm wondering like was Richard Ramirez just the other Night Stalker and
I
like
think
did
he
he know that about
I
himself and
think he
did he
got the Night Stalker, which is like super spooky, and I
ugh
think people even tried to be like, don't call him that. It's like giving him credit,
mm,
of like being cool and creepy.
yeah
But I don't know. I mean, and also the reason that Eurons had multiple names, people didn't know it was the same guy for decades. You know what I mean?
right
So he was
right
in different areas. So it wasn't even like clear that they were the same murderer.
got it
So anyway. So at this point, police began to question, is this person somehow like linked to Satanism? And it was the 80s satanic panic. People like loved this link to the devil, and teens are practicing Satanism. And this was just a big thing back then. And so, but now he's like fully showing pictures of pentagrams. So he really played right into that. And as they continued researching older unresolved cases, a newer case made them raise their eyebrows. So there was an attempted kidnapping of a young woman in Eagle Rock, and she had fought the suspect off, and he left in a Toyota. And
Hmm.
pretty soon after that, he made a traffic violation. So he was pulled over, but he didn't have his driver's license. So the traffic the traffic officer instructs him to remain at his vehicle while he goes back to his motorcycle to get his citation booklet. Of course, the second he turns around, the suspect gets out of the car, but before running away, he draws a pentagram on the hood of his own car,
Oh,
and then runs away. And it turns out this car's stolen, so it doesn't even like link him to anything.
oh my
But
God.
I know, but he draws a pentagram on the car and then just like books it away and escapes. So now there's this new link to Satanism twice. So Carrillo and Salerno urge for the car to be scanned for fingerprints. So they give it to LAPD and they say, we have his car. He's been driving this car. Like, check it for fingerprints.
Right.
Just a warning. It's another pull your hair
What?
out situation, but
Okay, great.
seems like it's going to go well. So on the night of July 7th, Detective Carrillo gets a call from his friend and crime scene technician Linda Arthur, and she says, you better get over here because the lady across the street from me just got raped, and I think it's related to what you're working on. So his friend literally calls and is like, something just happened on my street, and I think it has to do with this guy you're looking at.
Wow. Okay.
So pretty wild. So it was a woman named Sophie Dickman, and she had begun yelling for help from Linda, the neighbor, after a man had gained entry into her house by pulling out her cat door.
Oh.
Isn't that horrifying?
Oh.
I'm like, no, don't do
Oh my
that.
God. Okay.
So he pulled out her cat door. He then raped and handcuffed her to the bed before ransacking the house and then fleeing. And then to tally up another 5 cases in 10 days, on July 8th in Monterey Park, police discovered that 60-year-old grandmother Joyce Nelson had been killed during the night by someone who had broken into her house. And it's also sad because you see all the family members talking about like how close they were with, their grandma, and like you would never
Yeah.
expect your grandma to be brutally murdered in such a way. It's really
Truly.
sad. So large amounts of blood had been found on the bed and the floor. He had beaten her to death, left a footprint on the side of her head from like kicking her head.
Oh my God.
But he did not rape her, which was like against some of the other MOs where you're expecting it and then he doesn't. Like it's just, again, all over the place.
And
And it was
also his goddamn footprint.
his footprint. He just like puts
It's
his
like
foot on her face.
This is the episode of Eyes and Feet. It's,
I was like, what's that? Oh,
it's
this. Yeah, I
it's
see.
our episode.
It's our
could not
show. The last show I ever wanted to host.
Every 5 seconds, it's just another goddamn shoe print that is no one's going to do anything about it. It's so upsetting.
It's really frustrating. So, it was later discovered that after this murder, the suspect went less than a mile away from Joyce's residence, where he entered the house of Sophie Dickman, who was the woman I had just mentioned that he went through a cat door. So these literally happened a mile apart the same night. So, I mean, he is active. So again, no DNA was found at the crime scene. So on July 9th, the detectives, our pals, the duo, check in with the LAPD about the car. They'd been scanning for fingerprints to be like, hey, any results? We're having more murders here. Like, we want to get this guy.
Yeah.
And turns out the LAPD just didn't process the car for prints. And counterintuitively, they had left the car out in the sun. So any skin or DNA traces had been completely burned up.
Wow, I could not be more upset about that. Okay.
Yeah, it's
moving on.
It's infuriating. That being said, they did find something, which was that left inside the car, they found a cheap plastic case. And within that was a business card of a dental office in Chinatown. Yeah, so this is kind of where we start the ball rolling a little bit.
They were probably like, fucking finally. Oh my God.
Which it's going to be another moment, but it's fine. We'll get there. So they find this card, and it was written under the name Richard Mena, M-E-N-A. And it had a fake address filled in. Like, they went to the address and it was, fake address. But they would later find out that the suspect had visited this dentist on July 3rd. It was now July 9th, so they had missed him by 6 days because they were not allowed access to the car. So another situation of like, shit, we could have literally met him at the dentist's office if we had figured this out and caught him. So the police collected the suspect's x-rays from the dentist, and Salerno took the x-rays to a personal friend of his who happened to be a dentist to see if anything could be inferred from the x-rays. And the friend said to him, I can tell you he's going to be back. He's got an impacted tooth and it's going to be killing him soon if it's not already. So this was music to Salerno's ears, and he was like, all right, he's going to be back to this office. I'm going to place 2 police officers on surveillance of the dental practice, and we're going to wait for him to arrive.
Wow.
And that is the first half of the Richard Ramirez Night Stalker case, and it's now picking up steam.
Amazing storytelling, Christine. And also, can you imagine being a dentist being like,
I know, I was thinking that.
First of all, my hands have been in the mouth of a serial killer. And also now I'm part of this operative sting. Like, talk about like a case of the Mondays,
Truly. They're like, well, he's going to walk back in. You have to act totally normal. And we're going to be watching. Like, oh my God.
He seems on it. He volunteered. He was like he'll be back. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
well, that's exciting. I can't wait to see what next week sounds like.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. There's several more pages, obviously. And so I wasn't able to cover it all today, but it is 3:29. So I got to run to Kroger. I apologize to peace out so abruptly, everybody. But I'm going to go get my bicep juiced up, and I'm so excited.
That's fine. Good luck to you.
And then complain to Em all the way tomorrow. That's
why
we
get vaccinated.
Please do it. The end.
Bye.